Emily, this is Dominic Esposito, the drill instructor. Dominic, this is Emily Frazier.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. So, Emily, you need to settle a bet, okay?
A bet.
You need to settle a bet, okay?
Yeah, go on.
I bet Kat a month of her wages, uh,
Mm.
which by the name Kat, it's only a couple of cans of cat food. But so before we meet today, did you know me?
I recognize you, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. Did you know the
We've
name of the drill instructor? You know the little cartoon guy back there, right? You know that guy?
no.
No, but you knew me. But you knew me, right?
Yes, I know you. Yes.
Okay, that's it. You don't get a salary for a month. Okay. You're broke, and I'm not even going to give you a loan. See,
Oh, poor
Emily,
cat.
Emily, I'm going to go on record,
Yeah.
admittedly, and not ashamedly, but admittedly, that I didn't know who you were. And the other day, Kat said to me, "Oh, we got an interview Thursday." I said, "Great, with who?" And she said, "Your name." I said, "Who's that?" And then she goes, "Who's that?" I go, "Yeah, what has she done?" I mean,
Right, I'm hanging up now.
so, so the fact is, I am not, I said, she said, "You don't know who she is?" I go, "No, I'm so busy doing what I do." And,
Yeah.
and she said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, does she know me?" She goes, "Well," I go, "Well, I'll tell you what, we'll just wage a little bet here and see if she knows me or I know her, and then we'll decide from there." Now, you're much prettier than me. I'll give you that right up front.
Yeah, no, I'll take that one. I won't argue with that one. So how stupid do you feel now?
Say that again.
How stupid do you feel now?
Um, um, if my chair went any lower, I would be down out of the picture. No. But naturally, I read a bunch of stuff about what you've been doing. I've read a little bit about what you've done. I saw you push Tyler straight off the stage, which was very cool.
Oh, Joey. No, who did I push off the stage?
Uh, you were just wrapping up an interview.
Oh,
And,
Skylar,
and
sorry,
you pushed
Skylar.
Tyler off the stage.
Yeah,
And the funny thing is, he didn't know what to do.
I,
I
in
I
all
said, "You know
in all
what?
fairness, I did tell him that I was going to do that, and
Yeah,
and
good."
I made
I
him.
said, I like this girl. I think I'm going to like her very much. She doesn't mind pushing her weight around. It doesn't look like much to push around, but you're very good at it. So this is good.
Well,
So,
it's nice to meet the both of you.
and welcome. And I'm so grateful I get to meet you. This is really actually very fun for me and for Kat to get to have these personal times. So it looks like you're in a bit of this is your private, this is the office, this is the cockpit you run things from?
Yes, yeah, this is our offices at Matchroom headquarters in Essex. So, yeah, we have the whole multi-sport team that's in one office in here. So yeah, it's our HQ.
I see the bottles behind you. You're already ready for the next celebration. So something must be happening.
No, the concerning thing is these bottles have been sat here for probably about 5 years. So
Oh.
it just shows how much I don't drink them. They just stack up. So I think probably one day I might just go on a bender and just do 3 of them in one go. So it's always a good conversation starter for every Zoom call I do. So if
That's
you
good.
saw, there's a lot more there, but
Well,
it's just over the years.
I'll tell you what, first of all, Sneaky Pete Mafia is gracious enough to be doing these interviews and then producing them for pool players so that we can continue to make an effort to get more people involved in who's doing what and why and where in our world of pool. It's a fun sport. I don't think we need to talk about the pitfalls and problems because there are certainly enough of them. But that's what you're working for. That's what we work for.
Yeah, of course.
We want the positive side of things. So what I'd like to do on this little time that we get to spend together
Yep.
is I'd really rather not repeat a whole lot of the things that are already
Okay.
in print that people know. I'd
Mhm.
like to talk a little bit about you.
Oh
I think
gosh.
I want to talk a little bit about the fire that's behind what's driving. Now, let me settle something in advance.
Okay.
I saw that Matchroom started in 1982.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, I age well. Most people look at me and they almost fall over when I tell them I'm almost 70.
Are you
And
trying to ask me if I'm like 50 years old? Is that
no,
what
I'm
you're
going to
trying
say
to
there's
ask?
just no way in the world there's just no way in the world you were running this thing in 1982 unless you want to just shock me to no end.
Yeah, secretly I'm like 65 and I've just had a lot of Botox.
Yeah, but it's because then I'm going to say you need to show the labels of all of your products because that's all any of these women are going to care about.
To be fair, I do have a really good skin regime, but definitely not good enough for that kind of mark. But
But
yeah.
what I want to hear is how did you come on board? What was the opportunity that you saw? How did that connection work where you became in the seat where you are now? How did that window start?
Gosh, how long do you have? I I started about 12 years ago. So I've been here for about 12 years. Not sure what year that is specifically. I think
2010.
that would have been
We'll go with
2010.
2010. But
Um,
now we've dated this show, so this is going to be useless to rerun in 20 years.
um, so yeah, 2010. About a year before that, I was just doing more work experience with Matchroom as well. So I officially started full time in 2010. And so before that was just working on their poker shows that were at studios. So then it wasn't really live arenas that I started with. It was more a studio with cameras, lights, and a poker table and the players as such. So no spectators, nothing like that, which is
Mhm.
actually really interesting when you think about it, because you have to make a TV show that has zero atmosphere into something that is engaging for a television viewer that's going on TV at 1 a.m. in the morning.
I get that.
So
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
so the poker is obviously extremely different. When I came in, it was more, I came into the TV production side. So again, that's when we started building poker into casinos, and there was like a live spectator audience that we would introduce there. And you know, nothing like the US Open that we just had last week, where we fill out,
And good
you
job
know,
on that, by the
600.
way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was not only well run, but it visually looked attractive. You were right
Yeah,
when you said it is an excellent setup, and it was. I'm a very big stickler. You've seen my stages, and I'm a stickler for the littlest detail, and
okay.
details stick out to me. So I
Yeah.
want to compliment you on several things that I saw, which I'm quite sure most people it just went over their head. They didn't think one way or the other, but that's typically what happens. Who's we got somebody just joining us. That's great. How are you?
Patrick Stampy.
Patrick. Is that
Yeah.
Patrick?
Yes, that's
Okay,
Patrick.
good. Anyway,
Patrick family.
complimenting you on there were quite a few things that I can see. There was detailed attention to why that
Hmm.
is that way. And it did look right. And when the composition of certain camera positions were what they were, it looked like it was a home run across the board. And so
Yeah.
your touch of excellence is duly noted for everybody to know and looking for
Thank
those
you.
types of things going forward.
Yeah, I
So
feel like we really ticked every box of the US Open when it came to the actual tournament itself, how the players were feeling and how they saw the tournament, and how we ran that event as such from that player perspective, the arena design, the TV production. So I feel, and then finally the atmosphere with the fans, and we really created a demand for it. You know, we had players that were there saying, I want to come in and watch the final. And we were saying, no, we can't actually we can't accommodate for you to be in the seated arena because all these seats have been sold to a ticket plan, and we can't, push any spectator out. So we had to build something last minute for the players so then they could watch inside the arena for the atmosphere as well. So I feel like we've really just stepped it up a notch, and with us now set for Atlantic City for the next couple of years, it's certainly something the US Open's just going to build. And I wouldn't be surprised if we sold out an arena of 1,000 for next year. So that's certainly something that we will be trying to achieve.
Yeah, and of course, every event is going to allow you to make the appropriate tweaking adjustments for the next. It only gets better. But there is a follow-up question to that last question you've been answering. And that was, since you were working with poker in a studio environment, you had to create the sense of excitement. But how did that then become pool for you? When did that happen?
It kind of just stumbled upon it. So I think it was more, I worked more on the TV side of things, and I'd worked on the pool from a TV perspective. So just floor manager. I remember the first interview I ever did was at the World Cup of Pool with Wojtek. And I remember he was just an absolute, like, now he can do a TV interview, but I remember I was like, had no idea what I was asking. I think I was like, so how was your match? Just standard that I was asking on the golf, I was asking on the poker, I was asking on, different things. And it was a case of when we were doing the pool, it was just something totally brand new. Personally for me, I had no idea what the rules were. So that was actually really interesting, where you see someone like Wojtek now. To when I saw him, I think it was 2012, was that World Cup pool in Manila. And I remember being in a shopping centre and looking up and just going, oh my gosh. And the arena was like this really old school set kind of thing. And there was a couple of hundred spectators with the set, but then you looked up and everyone was just hanging over the balconies of this shopping center. And then I remember,
I saw
Efren
that.
Reyes.
Yeah. It was just like a mob scene. And
it was they were just mobbed, and it's like I'd never met Efren Reyes before. And you saw him and Bustamante coming through, and they were being swamped. And I remember
they're superstars in the Philippines.
Yeah, of course.
They're the equivalent of, any one of our modern day, without trying to give fancy names, but any one of our modern day superstars, where people would go crazy over themselves. But that's right. These guys are big names there. So
so that was totally, it was totally brand new for me. It's something I hadn't seen before, especially I think when we saw the poker, or I'd seen the pool events before. It just seemed like there wasn't any crowd there. And it was only really the Moscone Cup where anyone was vocal, but it still felt like the Moscones at York Hall. It was, trying to get people in there, for instance. But there, seeing it in Manila, obviously that's one of our plans to go back there. It was, I think we've been planning a lot sooner. But then obviously COVID hit, and it's obviously made things for us traveling to certain countries a lot tougher. So it's definitely in our plans to go back, because we know that there's a demand there. But that was really interesting seeing that. I think one of my first Instagram posts was, I had a picture with Torsten Homan and Ralph Suke, and one of the girls, Isabel, who's one of the producers here, his daughter, because we were just obviously working on the event, and it's just so mad to think that we were there and we just had this picture or whatever. But had no idea what the rules were or anything like that at that point. It was just, and I think a lot of our team started as coming into multi-sport and then learning about pool, falling in love with the sport. And I think that's why we're all so good at what we do, because we fell in love with it. And so we have to then educate, we have to push new viewers to fall in love with this sport, just as we all have ourselves.
Okay. So your comment actually kind of begs that we address one more thing.
Mhm.
And this might cause you to, hopefully you'll tip your hand a little bit and let us see, but pool, typically the audience gets smaller and smaller and smaller until usually only the people that are running the event in the finals are often, it's almost like a ghost town. Everybody splits. Their matches were over and there isn't much audience, and we got to do everything we can to try to fill in somewhere so it doesn't look like that, as opposed to if you consider what's happening in other sports like golf, where there's day one, day two, by day four the crowds get bigger and bigger and bigger because
Mhm.
everybody wants to see the finals.
Mm.
Everybody wants to see who's going to win, right?
Mm.
Is
So
this
you're saying
something
that
you've been addressing?
Paul is the opposite way, you're saying?
That's exactly right. If you
Oh,
go to,
I totally disagree with
I
you.
disagree.
Have you
okay,
watched
The
any of the
US
Matchroom events?
Open,
well, no, I'm referring, okay, let me be more specific. I'm referring to when the pros get to play, where the events like the BCA, the
Yeah,
APA,
but
or anywhere where they set tables up and they
right.
get to be there. But go
I
ahead,
don't
let me
know
hear your
what.
comment to that.
Well, my comment to it is that it doesn't happen at the Matchroom event, so I don't know what comment I can give you because that
Okay,
doesn't happen at the events that we're in charge of. So I'm not doing anything about it because that's already something that we are very successful at. If anything, our day one spectator ticket is always the lowest as opposed to the final day. So we're super good at what we do in that respect. So I can't really comment on what the others do, but I think that's why we're the best promoter in the business.
then that answers the question right there. If you, okay, well, I've seen so many of the times when I come out into the public, it's because there's going to be many amateurs and we're doing things very specific in the drill instructor format where they're watching and learning. And so
Mm.
I've only seen so many of them not want to stick around, but then this is a whole different thing, which is great.
the
No,
US
if
Open is
anything, people,
amazing.
yeah, I think if anything, we draw people in. So they come on day one, they tell their friends about it, then all of a sudden those people turn up with two more friends because they expressed how great day one was, and then it's word of mouth, and then they are tuning in and they're going, okay, I want to go there. There's an atmosphere. So I think it's something that we're really, really good at. So we're really confident that that's only going to increase and get better each year.
This is great. Now, I don't want to, Patrick, you've jumped in. I don't want you to just sit there and not have anything to say. How are we engaging with Patrick to be part of our conversation?
Patrick's going to be writing an article.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have a question for Emily from Perhagen.
Yeah.
And Perhagen said, if it's not already announced, who are the remaining picks for the MC team? The people are screaming for the underdog Greg Hogue to be picked for the U.S. team. He is the only U.S. player to win a Matchroom ranking event, and he finished in the same spot as the two other remaining U.S. players. Don't you think this underdog deserves a shot and that he might breathe some fresh air and fighting spirit into the team? He finished in the same spot as the two other remaining U.S. players at the U.S. Open, and that was what Per wanted me to relate to you.
I think, everyone loves an underdog story, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, we've all watched Dodgeball, but I think there's a lot more to the Moscone Cup that everyone has to consider. First of all, you're going from a back table that you're playing in a US Open arena, and even though that big venue is quite exciting in itself, if you're on one of those back tables, that's completely different to the stream tables. That's completely different to the last 16 table. I'm not sure, I actually watched Greg's the last match that he won. And I was watching a few bits of it, and look, he can play, and it's exciting to see. And if he keeps playing in the open events and keeps earning his ranking points, then he would make the team regardless. So there's that way of it. But I also do think that we cannot underestimate the arena, and when someone steps foot who hasn't stepped foot in front of a TV camera before, you know, they can freeze. And it's one of the reasons why we put the Junior Open final on a stream table, because we want to give the players that exposure as well as the practice as such going into that kind of arena. So when someone like Jeremy Jones is thinking about his wildcard picks, he's not just thinking about the US Open run. He's thinking about everything. And there's no one more experienced than him that can look at an arena and go, oh my gosh, you've got to be mentally and physically prepared to walk into an arena like the Moscone Cup. So I think as much as the underdog story is fantastic, I think there's so much more to it. The wildcard picks haven't been selected yet. So they will be selected soon, and that will be announced. But again, they're captain picks. I cannot tell you, I could possibly tell you what Jeremy is thinking, but I couldn't put money on the fact who he's going to pick now. I genuinely couldn't. I wouldn't put a bet on the 2 picks that he's going to do. That's how up in the air it is.
Yeah.
So I just think there's a lot more to it than just the US Open run. And that's no discredit to Greg himself. I think it's fantastic that he showed that passion. He showed his heart, and you could see when he won that last match that he won, you could see the passion in him when he won that match. You could hear it from across the arena, and I think that's absolutely brilliant. I welcome players like that. So it's lovely storyline. But again, there's a much bigger picture to this. There's a lot more. How does each player gel with the team? Do those 2 players play really good double pairings? There's so much more to it. They've got to play as a team. So I think there's just a lot more to it than what maybe people expect.
Right. Also on the SVB Junior Open, that will be expanding next year, right?
That will what, sorry?
Be expanding.
Yes, we plan to continue with that event. It was really successful for us. We just want to build on it, see how we can obviously improve. It was definitely a first time for us. We didn't even really know how long the tournament would last and things like that. So we'll be looking at that and seeing how we can improve on it as we head into next year.
Do you think they'll stick with single elimination, or will they allow the kids to play the same as the pros?
I think the double elimination is much better.
Yeah.
We initially set for double elimination, but we made a choice that we wanted to increase the field from 32 to 64. So we made a cut on going from double elimination to single elimination, and we felt that was the best thing for the first time event. What we will be doing is we will be looking at exactly how long the tournament ran each day, how many tables we had, and we'll be basically evaluating whether we can increase to double elimination. But also, it was a first time for us to be running 2 events simultaneously as well. We're normally just running our main event, which is quite difficult as it is, especially as we reach the TV stage. So to be running another event that's juniors with a lot of angry parents that might get a bit upset, I didn't want to run it half-heartedly, and we wanted to make sure the team that we had on site was good, and it was all first-time people that we were working with. And again, when we're in that situation, we like to be a bit more cautious, and I think that in turn made us produce a much better a higher quality event. So really happy with the decisions that we made. But ideally, you want to be giving the juniors double elimination, because then you're more likely going to be traveling. So yeah, it's something that's just on our mind that we'd like to improve on, definitely.
It'd be great, but it did wonderfully this year. I love watching every minute of everything I could watch.
And she basically did, because about 6 times I tried to call her, I couldn't get through. She's leave me alone. I'm watching
because
the match.
She was watching it. That's brilliant.
Well, this is
so
wonderful. Emily, one of the things I'd like to address with with you for the benefit of our audience is
Yeah.
you've got your finger on the pulse of the enthusiasm of the pool sport world.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some players who really want to become more ambitious and more involved in things that may be within their areas, their local areas. They want to begin to try to create things on a smaller scale. If they could have a moment to be with someone who operates at your level, and they could ask you a question like, what could I do locally? What are the steps I might take to be able to start developing an event that it could either be for fundraising for somebody who's in a crisis need, or it could be just to create the first annual, second annual, so forth. But what could you say to this individual or these types of players who want to become more involved in creating an event? How would they go about the steps? What's happening?
I think the best thing is to become a 9-ball ranking event, and that's not, anyone can organize a ranking event. I think it is fairly straightforward. There's a set of criteria that they have as guidelines to help them run, a more professional tournament with that ranking event status. It also commits a lot more of the higher profile players, which we all know that if anyone's setting up a live stream, if anyone's got any sponsors, by confirming that they have those bigger high profile players coming to their event, then it's beneficial for everyone. So what I would say is that it's, any player, if they've got a pool hall or anything like that, or they want to work with someone locally to do a ranking event, then absolutely fantastic. And all they have to do is, we have our website that has obviously contact information on there, or we have or we have an email address, which is I think it's 9ballrankings@matchroom.com. I think so. But it's all from Matchroom Pool website that you go to, and you can contact on there. So, and a lot of the players, if they're questioning things like that, they just text and they just give us a call, and we say, right, okay, we'll send your email in. We're open to ranking events where it's, we want to build the schedule as much as possible. So, and then the second is locally, if they feel like they want to bring a Matchroom event to their town, then that's also something that can be in discussion. So the door, I think the great thing about us is that the door's always open to everyone if they want help with, their side of things, or if they want help locally with things like that, if they want help with their social media, if they want pictures from the event, if they want a visa letter. That I think the thing is that most players would say is that we're pretty much on hand 24/7. So if a player is stuck at the weekend and they go, I really need a visa letter for my appointment at the embassy, one gets written up within the next hour. So we're always very approachable when it comes to the players, because we recognize that at the end of the day, they're the superstars, and we have to create an earning for them. We have to create a living for them, where they can play professional pool for a living, and they can actually earn some decent money for it, not, scrounging, going from one state to another to play in money matches or things like that. They should be earning a decent wage from it, and that's our mission.
Well, where does that begin to open the possible doors in the future to corporate sponsors for pool sport events? Do you see that coming?
Yeah, of course. We just haven't been doing enough events. It's very hard for a mainstream sponsor to come on board when we're going, oh yeah, we've got 3 events a year. They can't really invest into it because there's not enough events. So now we're looking at obviously a lot more, and we're building a tour. There's a lot more for them to get invested into. The viewing figures are a lot stronger, and we have to come away all the time from, free streams and things like that. And it's just it's a much bigger picture. And I think when you're in the pool world and you're looking at the different events that are on, including Matchroom events, it's very easy to get sucked up to think that this is the best sport in the world, because it's not. It has the making to be, such an entertaining sport. we've got the making of all these different incredible characters that don't exist in these other sports. They are like players that you can tune in at home and fall in love with these characters because they're humble. However, you have to take a step back and you have to look at the other sports that are happening, and they're a lot more mainstream, where we're a small piece of that compared to these other sports. So it's up to us to just keep our eyes open and to always look at the bigger picture as to what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to build a tour. We're trying to build a professional tour. So we have to always be thinking outside the box and try not to get too sucked into the industry as such, because the world is a much bigger place than that.
Yeah. So with regard to it becoming a tour, how many events would make up your target of a full season of events?
I think for us, we look at our darts tour, we look at our snooker tour, we have a season, and we'd be looking at events every week, that players are traveling from each event to the next, earning substantial money, earning substantial ranking points. So for us, we'd be looking at that from each week really, but it's just that takes other promoters stepping up and other organizers coming in as well.
Right, because it's the promoters, it's the corporate sponsor level where the substantial income is really going to come from then.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, in order for the players to earn the substantial incomes week to week to week, the revenue, the resources have to come from somewhere to make those purses available.
Well, obviously, yeah, if we had a big mainstream sponsor that comes into play, or a big host city sponsor, then you'd straight away double prize money. But money doesn't grow on trees at the end of the day. The tour that we're building, we're very much in the red on it. So that's why no one else is doing what we're doing, because it costs too much money. But at the beginning of the year, we made a commitment that we're going to invest into 9ball, and we're going to obviously increase viewership. We're going to build a tour as such. So I can't really look into my crystal ball sort of thing. There's only so much that we can hope for. But obviously at this point, it is just a case of, like I said, there's the reason why no one else is doing this is because it costs too much money. If we weren't live on television every time that we had an event, then I'm sure we could probably double the prize money. But the amount of costs that go into an event like the US Open would absolutely blow your mind. So we have to obviously look at things cost effectively as well. But the first thing that we would always try to do is increase prize money. So I think for us, we know what we need to do. But again, we like to make our decisions. We don't like to make quick decisions. We're just taking each step as it comes. We have our goal, we have our mission. It's just a case of trying to execute it in a cost-effective way.
Well, I'm excited for what you're bringing to the sport, and so many others as well. Kat, do you have any last questions or thoughts that we can get to share a little bit more time with them?
Hey, I'd like to jump in here for a few questions. I don't know if you've covered this or not, but I appreciate you taking your time with us first, Emily. And
That's okay.
I was looking into Matchroom a little bit, and I don't know if they've covered this or not, but first off, you've got Barry Hearn there with Eddie Hearn, now his son, running. Is that correct? Essentially running the company, Eddie is.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and then you got Matchroom, and then you got Matchroom Multisport, right? And it's not the CEO, you're not the CEO, you're what is it? I'm sorry, what's your title
No,
again?
that's okay. Yeah, so we have Matchroom Sport, which is obviously Barry took a step back last year to form more of a president role. He loves the sport so much, however, so he's still so heavily involved on that side of things. Within the Matchroom umbrella, we have Matchroom Multisport Limited, and to answer to your question, I'm the managing director for.
Okay, I got you. I just wanted to clarify that, and get in a few questions here because, I have some things for the article that, I'd like to what a premier year. You've had, like, what was it, 3 inaugural events, or was it 2 this year that added to the tournaments? The UK Open, the
Yeah,
Asian Open. You're not doing the Asian Open, were you? Or is
no,
that it?
the Asian Open was one of our ranking events that we supported on the production side. However, it was promoted and organized by the APF, the Asian Pool Federation. So that was a
Oh,
9-ball ranking event.
and wasn't it now Matchroom in, I think it was 2001 or maybe it was 2003, picked up the PGA Euro Golf Tour and added, that was a huge addition, right?
I'm a little bit phasey on, yeah, that was before my time a little bit. So I'm probably sure that Google would be your best bet for that.
Because
Hey,
I
Mr.
got you.
Google,
Well,
Mr.
I was
Google.
just,
Oh, go
because
ahead.
I'm curious about, like, I think that would be a good source of, because that kind of well of money you could draw on to invest initially, like you said, this is a initial, you know build up to building something better for the future of pool, it sounds like to me,
Mm.
with adding these events and whatnot. And I gotta give it up to Matchroom because you're leading the way worldwide on this. And that's what we need, is that kind of promotion and pool. And I think, if somehow golf, if pool could get even remotely close to golf money, then I think the fans will notice more, because when the money comes, it seems like the fans come. Nobody's gonna watch a poker tournament for 20,000, but they'll watch it, when it gets to several million. And I was wanting to get your take on that kind of thing. And like it seems like pool needs a sustained push worldwide for it to get the notice and attention for what a dynamic and diverse game it is. I had a question in there somewhere, but maybe you could just respond to that.
Yeah, I think it's just like what I said earlier, that until we get to a point where we need where we have the mainstream sponsors or anything like that, I just think, it's all, we'd love to put on $1 million events per event, but we just can't. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I think
My next meeting's coming up.
yeah,
So
I think your
but I
point
think
is true, Patrick. The PGA has, if you go into the deep history of how it got to where it is, you'll see that the beginning of it was quite an amazing, okay, we're gonna knock off the boozing, we gotta knock off the gambling, we gotta dress like we're coming here to play golf. I mean, there was a lot of riffraff that had to be cleaned and cleared before, just like to put up a building, they got to get the ground right before they can even start doing it right. But what Emily is doing and what the team is doing is truly on that pathway, and I believe that is so. Emily, you've been so gracious with your
Yes,
time for
thank you so
us
much.
to have with
yeah,
Yeah,
you.
of
I'm sure
course.
we've got a lot of great content. I know you probably got to go, but again, really kudos on everything you're doing. And
Thank
if I
you.
have some more questions for you, maybe I'll just send you a couple little messages, and then we can add that to the article. But
Yeah.
this will they'll supplement each other. There'll be things on the video that won't be in the article, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm kind of doing the articles now. And I like the way they're turning out. So like
That's
I said,
great.
I know you're a very busy woman, and like I said, we really appreciate you taking the time with us again. And I'm sorry I jumped in here late. I had some last minute things I was taking care of, but
That's
I
okay.
appreciate the drill instructor here and Kat and you as well. And I think it's a great day for pool, and it's coming up, and it's just a sustained push we need, and in the US, it's tough. You gotta know it's tough for pool in the United States because we've got so much entertainment here. We've got football, basketball,
Mm.
baseball, and so pool is really, even though it's such a dynamic, diverse game, it's hard to get noticed here in the United States.
Yeah, that is very true. But I think we're on the
Yeah, I
right
think you're on
track.
the
So
right
we
track.
just got to be patient.
You're on the right track, Emily, very much
Yep.
so. So let's just say from Sneaky Pete Mafia, Kat, great questions too. Thank you. We're just so grateful we got to just get a piece of your time like this. And
Yeah.
we can't wait to see more of what you bring to this sport for everyone as a whole. So when that even comes, thank you in advance
Yes.
for the effort. You have lots of people on the periphery to say yes, yes, rah, rah, thank you, and I speak for them as well, just as Kat does and Patrick, to you, that others have tried to kick it off before, but
Mm,
I think this is going to be the one that really makes it work.
Yep.
yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and
Thanks, Emily.
appreciate all your kind words on everything we're doing. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right.